This is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Gerard on your place for news, talk, and information. Look, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour on KHTS, your hometown station. Why do we talk about your money? Why do we talk about it as if it's this thing that nobody understands? It's like talking about breathing. Oh, by the way, did you know you're supposed to breathe in and breathe out? Well, here's what happens. I think when you're a kid, when you're growing up, you touch money just like a 2-year-old touches a penny, or a 102 uses a Social Security debit card or something to pay their bills. How do you ever go to class? Where's the school? Where's the class? How much insurance should you receive? Should you get this car insurance or that? If your parents were reasonable in their financial life and super intelligent in what kind of deductibles to get on their car insurance and whether or not you should take out a 30-year conventional or interest-only payment loan, and who tells you that? So all of these things you kind of find out as you go along. Sometimes you make great decisions. Sometimes your mom and dad or your parents were brilliant. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they're broke. They're wonderful people, but they just can't seem to make any financial headway. And because of that, right, that's what you learned. You learned that money is to be feared, to be hated. Rich people are bad, poor people good, right? If you grew up in a place where you picked on race, or what is it today, gender, I don't know, what are there, 72 different genders or something? Oh my gosh, are we losing our mind or what? You get to a place where the basics, and somebody were to come to you and pick on sexual orientation or religion, you would say, oh, that's offensive, get away. But the moment the guy or gal walks in and starts talking about money, and they do it in that little dog whistle, remember? that little dog whistle. Like, you know, that guy was trying to park his Ferrari, and you know how those people are.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
And that lady with her, hairdo and, that Gucci or Louis Vuitton purse, you know how those people are. And everybody goes, oh, yes, yeah, pass me the latte. Right? It's okay to pick on rich people. Whatever your point of view, that's not where I'm going. I'm going with, why would you ever want to be something that you're picking on? Why would you ever want to go, oh, money's bad, rich people dirty again, evil bosses, owners of company, greedy, I can't wait to save money and become wealthy so that I can be one, right? You wouldn't do that. You'd say that's crazy. And yet in school and colleges and universities today, you usually have poor people teaching kids that may or may not. I'm not saying teachers are bad or broke. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But that's not their job, right? Their job isn't to teach you about money. It's to teach you about reading, writing, arithmetic, history, math, science, whatever it is. It's not to teach you about, oh, and this is how you buy rental properties and you flip them. These are the differences between a fixed annuity and a variable annuity. Why you should own mutual funds or why you shouldn't own a mutual fund. That's not their job. So there needs to be a time and place where you cross that line as a person and say, gosh darn it, it's up to me. And when we say a Roth conversion, so these brilliant people in Washington or Sacramento, I say that with, I don't know, I think it was a stomachache when I said Sacramento. I don't think you can count 20 people in Sacramento that have any clue on what it's like to actually run a business. Maybe. They all think they do because they have a big budget, but they're spending somebody else's money. And they keep making huge mistakes, and you have to pay for it. Again. Another mistake. So how is it that you are going to manage your financial life? How is it you're going to figure this out? Well, they come along and they say, oh, we got this Roth conversion. We think there's a Roth conversion. Should you have a Roth conversion? Everybody goes, oh, Roth conversion. Does that hurt?
Sounds cool.
Yeah, with this whole transgender, is it something to do with that? When you say conversion?
Can I still use the bathroom I was using yesterday?
Yeah, do I have to go to all genders? Can you imagine they have an all... If you were to ask anybody 5 years ago, the kind of baloney that we're talking about today. And it is just, it's like the king has no clothes. You guys remember that story when you were a kid? And it talked about, the denial is really what it was. And that having nobody around you that said, hey, by the way, buddy, you're kind of doing something dumb. Right? That's what that king has no clothes thing. Hey, It's the dog. It's the, what's it called? The echo chamber. Nobody in your circle is saying, "Hey, buddy, you're making a big mistake," or "Hey, buddy," right? No, nobody's doing that. That's what's happening now. And so financially, when you have broke people, whether it's your teachers, your parents, your friends, trying to teach you about money, surprise, you're still going to be broke. Now, listen, I said the word broke, and if you are hearing the word bad or good, that's your problem, not mine. People, "Oh, Arif, you said something that was offensive." That's not my problem. If I ran around going, "Are you offended? Are you offended? Did I say this? I said it that way. You're not offended? Good. Oh, but this person is when I said it that way. Oh, but the way you walked, the way you talked, the way you looked." You have to learn to deal with your own whether it means you don't hang around with those people, or you do, or you listen, or you don't. You read that book or that newspaper, or you don't. Those things matter. Because when you take your own intricate emotions, feelings, and you make those somebody else's responsibility, how much closer are you going to be to making a mistake by giving them your health insurance, or your retirement, or your financial decisions? You've given them the most intimate thing going, called your personal feelings, and you've made that somebody else's fault for you, quote, being offended. Isn't it easier to give them your health insurance? I mean, can you imagine for a minute your most intimate decisions in health? Should I do this or that? And you've given it to a government? Those people get paid whether you live or die. Those people get paid whether you like them or not. Those people have an amazing pension and are going to take great vacations whether you live or die. Get that treatment or this treatment. Don't give that up. We were a country founded on freedom. Add financial into that, and suddenly you're just a little worker, a robot, working in the company store. Remember that? The company town? They paid you, but then they overcharged you for everything because the town was owned by the company. They owned the saloon, the grocery store, the hotel. It didn't matter. You came in one door, out the back door. Right? Slavery is illegal, but people still go through that baloney every single day. Don't do that. Don't give it up. What is a Roth conversion? How are you supposed to know if it's right for you? Here's where you come, right here to Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour, and a million other websites. Throw it into Google or Bing, right? 1.6 million hits in 4 seconds, or 0.4 seconds. You could learn. It used to be that wealthy people kept the information here, and you guys just go to work in the fields, in the factories, in the farms. You guys go do that. We'll take care of the money. It's changed, didn't it? The information is everywhere. So no longer do they have a monopoly on it. No longer is that school with the brick and ivy exterior a better place to learn. The power is shifted, and people are struggling. They're scrambling right now. How do they control it? How do they control the power? How do they control the information? I think that it happens with you having knowledge. And not just, 1 + 1 is 2, but add some wisdom in there, add some experience, some humbleness, and throw in a dose of mentoring by somebody who's done it, been there, done that. And I think you've got a good shot at being successful or wealthy, whatever that means to you. Not bitter and angry and jealous. Right? That's different. When I say the word wealthy, you heard greedy. That's your problem, not mine. And not the guy who's working his butt off 15 hours a day. So how do we manage this? We do so in a way so that you learn. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Roth conversions. What are they? How do you manage it? Let's start learning. Let's start taking that power back away from politicians, wherever they happen to be, and whatever stripes and political affiliation. Let's put it back in your hands when we come back, right back. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby. We'll be right back.
Little I Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little I Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful form of learning for young children. That's why our kids have every opportunity to learn through the magic and excitement of play. Parents, schedule a tour today by calling 303-0400 or online at littleleaders.org.
Natural Balance limited ingredient diets are simple formulas with simple ingredients. Feed your pet a limited ingredient diet to ensure they only get the very best of what they need. High quality nutrition with a limited number of animal protein and carbohydrate sources to help support healthy digestion. Available at Fox Feed, one of the largest feed and supply stores providing quality feed and pet products in Santa Clarita since 1976. Shop local, shop Fox Feed, where their experts will guide you with what's best for your pets and livestock on Sierra Highway 2 miles north of Soledad.
The most charming new restaurant is now in Santa Clarita. Marston's Restaurant has been a Pasadena landmark, voted the best breakfast in California by the Food Network magazine. Now, discover Marston's new Santa Clarita location, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Marston's also has a fantastic catering menu that adds a delicious twist to any event. And they cater picnic dinners for that memorable romantic date. Experience Marston's on Newhall Ranch Road in McBean, or log on to marstonsrestaurant.com.
Santa Clarita Philharmonic has begun its season of free concerts. The SCP is a non-profit community-based volunteer symphony orchestra comprised of local musicians from throughout the Santa Clarita Valley who are dedicated to providing quality classical music for the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley. Like the Santa Clarita Philharmonic on Facebook or visit santaclaritaphilharmonic.org for more information.
First impressions say it all. Choosing the right makeup is critical to that first impression and keeping your skin looking young and healthy. That's why Santa Clarita's Jen Gerard created Gerard Cosmetics. Inspired by women of all ages who gravitate toward classic and timeless beauty with a modern twist, Gerard Cosmetics. Superb quality and pigmentation, along with lip glosses and lipsticks in colors for everyone. The internationally acclaimed Gerard Cosmetics. Discover your new look at gerardcosmetics.com.
From the heart of Chicago to the SCV, enjoy authentic eats from Marciano's Chicago-style deli. Marciano's house specialties include the Chicago pot pie, the Chicago dog, and Marciano's signature dubbed beef hoagie, a mouth-watering top roast slow-cooked with Marciano's secret Italian spices for 72 hours. Next to the Canyon Country Library, you don't have to travel far for the only true Chicago cuisine in the SCV. Marciano's Chicago-style deli.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
This is your place for news, talk, and information, your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. All right, we're talking about your education, your financial education. It's called literacy, right? If you didn't know how to read, your job would be to go to night school to figure it out, to do it in your time off, your weekends, whatever it is, to try to learn to become literate. If you're trying to learn a second career, it's the same thing. Unfortunately, because today we're paid in money, not in your career. There is no bartering structure. There is no, oh, you're a PhD, so I'm going to pay you more money in exchange. You're right. I'm a chicken farmer. You're a psychologist. I don't give you chickens in exchange for your services. It doesn't work that way. I have to sell my chickens for money. You have to sell your services for money. If I manage my money better than you, I'm wealthy, even if I'm an uneducated, quote, formerly uneducated chicken farmer. I'm better at money management. We see it all the time. So Roth conversions are part of that process. Jeff, there are reasons to do a Roth conversion. First of all, tell me what that is. It just sounds like it's such a crazy thing.
Well, we also have to preempt that with why we're even having this conversation when it comes to a conversion. And before we get into that, most people that we see save money on a pre-tax basis. What's the benefit of that? Well, they say, well, instead of you paying me $100, employer, and then I pay my payroll taxes, and then I keep $70, and then I go ahead and put money into a savings account called a retirement account, the government allows us to put money in pre-tax. I know it sounds kind of rudimentary, and you're like, Jeff, that's so fundamental. Well, a lot of people get on those railroad tracks of going to work, letting their company handle their retirement, and before they get a paycheck, they put a little bit of money off to the side in something called a 401k, a 403b, a deferred compensation. So all those things have different names. It really just depends on where you work. And so you go to work, you go through life, and you're saving money, and you're putting it in that pre-tax account. Well, do you think Uncle Sam's going to let you do that forever? Well, as long as you're working, sure. But at some point, you're going to have to take that money out, whether it's to live on and to supplement your retirement or because they tell you you have to. And that comes later on in retirement. So what people are doing nowadays is they're saying, I'm in partnership with the government. I can save and I can put that money away. Hopefully it'll grow over time, and I got that tax break today. And you know what? I'm just going to bet in the future that taxes are going to be less than they are today. Well, that's quite a bet to take 30, 40 years down the road. So people are getting smart, and they're saying, I'm going to take some of that money that I put away pre-tax, and I'm going to convert it. And that means to basically turn it into after-tax or post-tax money. But what comes with that, Arif? Because you don't just get to put money away tax-free and then convert it and then just say, I'm not in partnership with the government anymore.
I think a lot of people forget that there's a required time when they have to start pulling money from their retirement accounts. Whether you need it or not, you might say, it doesn't matter, I don't need it. Tough luck. About 4 or 5 years ago, the government, maybe 6 years ago, I guess, the Obama administration put forth to Congress, and I think it was actually done not even through legislation. I think it was done through an executive order through the IRS. And they said all retirement holders, in other words, all companies, mutual fund companies, annuity companies, banks that hold retirement accounts, you're required to report those dollars to the government. Now, it didn't used to be that way. What used to be was the deposit and what your account value was at age 70 and a half. And some of you may remember, I do because it's my industry, when the president was giving a speech, President Obama, and he said, there is no reason for people to have more than $3 million in a retirement account. That seems like just a lot of money. That's more than enough. Who needs more than that? Stunning, right? To a man who's a millionaire. Stunning. Wow. That he would ever, that's socialist thinking. And how did you guys not like throw tomatoes and say, get out? It's incredible. But people said, oh, yeah, well, make a good point. What ridiculous. When that took place, there was a pushback. Oh, okay, never mind. We're not going to put in restrictions on how much you can save for retirement. But what also took place was kind of when the noise was over here, they snuck in a thing that said all companies have to report the retirement balances. Why? Because when you're 45, 55, 65, as the balance of your account continues to grow, the government just checks its watch, and it knows when you're going to turn 70 and a half because of your birthday, of course. And it knows how much it's able to pull out because they're going to tax you on that money. So it doesn't matter where you live, whether it's California or Florida or Texas, Nevada, you're all going to pay the same federal income tax. That's irrelevant, right? Unless you live outside of the country. But you're going to pay federal income tax. State income tax, that's a different story. So years later, that the government said, listen, if we can get some of that money now, we're happy because we have already spent it, so we need extra dollars. So what they do is they say, if you want to take some of your old retirement account or your current retirement account, pay the taxes today and then drop it into an account that will never be taxed again with the interest or the principal. The money you put in, because it's already taxed, and the interest you earn will never be taxed again, regardless of where you live. California, Florida, Texas, Nevada, it doesn't matter. State, federal, under current law, both. Where does that fall into your value? It does here for two reasons. Number one is it allows you an opportunity to manage it, to say, you know what, I need a little bit, I have a huge write-off right now, or I've got a big deduction coming down, I sold something, or I lost money on something. I want to convert some of those dollars. So when you're in your 50s or 60s, it may make sense. You're going to speak with a CPA. You're going to have them run both numbers. You're going to guess a little bit of what your future is going to hold. Maybe you have a bit more concrete value there. And you can look to see, hey, does it make sense? Because if it does, now you have an opportunity to the known. What's the known? It's your taxes today. And a Roth conversion can help.
It really helps in a lot of ways because there's some predictability. Because what do we know today? We know what the tax rates are. We don't know what they're going to be next year. We can say, well, there's really nothing on the horizon, legislatively speaking. So, you know what? We're going to take our chance. We're still going to defer dollars. Okay, well, great. But can you say that 5 or 10 years or 3 or 4 administrations from now? We don't know what's going to happen. So a lot of people, and I say wealthy people because it's not about the dollars in their account, it's the wealthy thinking. To go back to Arif's point, it's how they value their money and what their estate is to them and how they want to pass that on in a tax efficient manner. That is one of the first points that people look at is I have an amount of dollars that I'm socking away for retirement, and if I don't use it, maybe I want my kids or my grandkids to get that. Heck, maybe I want to start a legacy that says I'm going to put enough money into an account that can pass on from generation to generation. It could be almost like our own, like a family endowment, whether they use it for college or starting a business or something like that. You can do all those things. People think, oh, that's only for wealthy people. All you need is a blueprint. Maybe it's a living trust. Maybe it's the money. Maybe it's enough money in there. But whatever the case, passing money on as a legacy, that's important, because if you do not pay taxes on those dollars and you die and you pass them to your heirs, they will have to reconcile with the government on the taxes. So using the Roth conversion, you say, look, I want to give them a gift, right? I'm going to never see this gift. I want to turn some of these dollars into Roth dollars, meaning I'm going to pay the taxes today. So let's say you have, I don't care, $100,000, $1 million in your retirement account, and you say, I want to take $10,000 and I want to convert that. You fill out a form with your company that's holding the dollars. They send you a 1099 and says, see, you converted $10,000, and that goes on your tax form. It's a pretty simple process. It doesn't take a whole lot as far as getting it done, but you do have to know that whatever dollar amount you convert, that becomes basically like income to you.
Yeah, it lands right on your tax bracket.
That's right.
So it can bump you. It can bump your other income into a place that you're not comfortable with. When I say run it through your tax preparer or your CPA, you're going to say, you don't have to hit send. You can have them run it in. And I want you to do it before they get really busy. Of course, they're going to be busy in February to April, or maybe even middle of January, depending on their scenario. So look, sit with them now. This is a perfect time. Set up a time. You may have to pay for their time. I don't know how they work, but you're going to say, listen, here's my story, guys. I have $300,000 sitting in an account. What if I just convert $50,000 a year for the next 5 years? Can I do that? What if I just convert $20,000 a year? Can I do that? So there are things like that you can do over time and build yourself a legacy.
And that's a great point that Arif's making. Is you say, I have $300,000. I'd like this to never be taxed again. To his point, you don't have to do all of it at once. You can do a little bit year by year. And that's why it's really important to work with your CPA or your tax professional, because you might be only able to convert $28,000 without going into the next bracket, even though you want to do 50. So you say, look, I'm going to leave it to the tax people to crunch the numbers, to the CPAs. Let them tell me how much would be beneficial before I cross into the next place, because you don't want it to cost you too much now, especially if you're trying to achieve something over a period of time, whether it's 5 or even 10 years. So just take a look at that with your team.
Yeah, so think about this. When we say a legacy, when it's left to your children or grandchildren, there still are some rules that they can't keep it in perpetuity. Oh, gosh.
Perpetuity.
Thank
There
you,
you go.
what he said. But there is a way for you to take those dollars, and to buy other assets. If you say, hey, I want you to pay off your house, or I want you to go to college and not have student loans, or I want you to buy an apartment building, so when I pass away, there's a big chunk of money. If I didn't need it, then you can have it tax-free, and it gets to go to the nonprofit, the charity, or to your children, grandchildren. It gets to be put in a place where at least you have a chance to have it be your money. It's incredible to me when people think, oh, well, the money's not mine, it's the government's. Or the government, when the progressive left stands up and they say, it is not your money. You didn't earn it. The government was here for you. Like, oh, great. Who's first then? Us or the government? So part of this challenge is where and how does it come in, right?
I think we missed on something here that I think we just kind of assume people understand. When you inherit money as a beneficiary, right, whether you're a child or a grandchild, and let's say your grandparents just leave you $50,000. You say, great, this is fantastic, because I wanted to touch on your point of the rules being associated with inheriting those dollars. Whether they're Roth dollars or non-Roth dollars, you still have some rules. If they're not Roth dollars, that means they haven't been taxed yet, right? And you say, I put money away pre-tax, I died, and guess what? Your kids still have to settle up, like I said earlier. If your kids are doing well, reasonably well, and they're making some income, they have a salary, maybe they have 2 incomes, and whether they have write-offs or not, we're not even going to talk about that. But let's say they have income, right? And now they drop in $50,000. Do you think the government says, oh, Susie, John, you guys are working, we understand, we're going to give you a break on the dollars that came in from your inheritance?
Yeah.
No, they don't do that. You just made an extra $50,000 in income. So take that into consideration when you're passing on dollars.
Why do I want you to consider the transfer through a Roth IRA? is because I think it can give you the opportunity to reduce the required minimum distributions in retirement. Because in retirement, remember, if you have a bucket of dollars, for every $100,000, it's about $3,700 a month, per year, that you have to withdraw. Whether you like it or not, whether you earned it or not in interest, you have to pull it out. So what if there was a way to reduce that amount by moving it before it's required into a Roth IRA? Well, there is a way. By doing that, not only does it keep your Social Security from being taxed, right? Potentially you can go through and keep your Social Security from being taxed. Look, so many of you are still operating under the old rules. I can't believe this. Under today's, quote, information world, right? Why did I still have this? Where somebody came to me and said, so Arif, at 65, I don't pay taxes anymore, right? No, you do. Somebody else said at age 70, I don't pay taxes on Social Security. No. Under Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich in the mid-90s, they came up with a plan that said Social Security is now going to be taxed. Even though we already taxed you on the money that you deposited in there years ago, we're going to tax you again on the money that you make again. Right? And they come up with some, shell game story, and you sit there and you just don't want to question it because you don't want to sound unintelligent. You go, oh, yeah, okay, I could totally see that. Yeah, okay. No. I'm paying tax on the same money twice. But here's the challenge. When you get to whatever age and you turn on Social Security, you may end up paying tax on Social Security if your income is above a certain amount. So what pushes it above those extra amounts? Well, dividends, right? If you're earning money, dividends or interest at a bank. It could also be required minimum distributions. So even if you're saying, no, don't give it to me, I don't need it, it doesn't matter. You've hit 71, 2, 3, 4. Now the government forces you to withdraw money, becomes a taxable event. They look back at your Social Security. Oh, you've hit the threshold. Poof, you're now at a higher bracket. So now it's in pure functional terms, goes backwards and taxes the Social Security you didn't expect to pay taxes on to begin with. Ask clients that walk in the door and go, oh my gosh, Arif, why am I paying $6,000 more in taxes? We say, I don't know, but let's call your CPA now and figure it out. And often the conversation comes around where last year we weren't required to take money out. Oh yeah, I remember that. It was $6,000. Yeah. However, it pushes you into a bracket where your Social Security becomes a taxable event. Look, for a lot of you have moms and dads out there that may be required to take, or grandparents required to take distributions. There are some things that we can do potentially. You can always get a hold of us, and that is helpful because we can sit through and say, how do we create a way for you to have your family benefit from not paying taxes or forced to pay taxes on Social Security?
Well, I think the forced part is really what we're belaboring the point of, is that you can do too much of a good thing. Look, deferring taxes is a nice thing, right? You say, look, I'm making a lot of money right now. I don't really want to have to give a lot up in taxes. Maybe I can do it when I'm retired and pay the tax bill then. Well, that's the old thinking. To Arif's point again, the old thinking was, go to school, get a good job with a pension, work there 30 years, and then, you'll die in about 3 years after you start collecting the checks. Well, that's not the case. People are living longer. They have to build up a bigger nest egg. They're saving more and more money before taxes. Look, that's a tool. That is a tool. I have a shovel. I can dig a hole, and if I dig it too deep, I may not be able to get out. So if you think of it that way, you say, okay, saving pre-tax, let's do that in conjunction with working with our tax team, our CPA. How long should I do that? How much should I do that before I start looking at those Roth accounts or converting what I've already put away pre-tax? That's really what we're getting at. You can be punished for putting away too much in retirement. Catch us offline. We'll tell you stories of folks going, hey, look, I don't need this. I don't want this. Tough. I'm just not going to take it. You think the government's going to let you ignore them? No, they penalize you. So you have to really take that into consideration.
Look, in this era where formerly trusted news sources have become fake news, and they have this massive agenda to go after one person. We never saw this before. We never saw this type of vetting with the last president. We never saw this type of vetting with Hillary. And what was Benghazi really about, right? I guess if you say it enough, people just kind of say, oh, it's just old news. Yeah, they didn't talk about it. It was the funding. It was a CIA annex used to run the weapons through Libya, transfer them to, quote, Libya, change them into Syria for the people fighting Assad. Oh, by the way, those people became ISIS. Oh my gosh, that's such a conspiracy. No, it's not me, man. It's her telling. She actually ended up coming out and telling, finally, Congress, whatever she could through the, quote, classified avenue. I share that with you because most of you will say, I didn't even know that. Oh my gosh, you know everything about Kardashians. You don't know anything about the political stuff. You know what's happening on Big Brother. And you have no idea that a Roth conversion or your financial well-being, right? Do you not see a disconnect? You have to pay attention to this stuff because this is real money. The government doesn't care if you followed it or not, or if you understood it or not. Try forgetting to file your income tax and see. They don't let you know right away, right? They wait till, by design or on accident, they wait for the fees, fines, interest, penalties, and then a year and a half ago, you said something that wasn't accurate or you forgot. You're like, oh my gosh, you're right. Poof, here's a bunch of fines and fees and penalties. So what about, here's another Roth conversion. I want to cover this other one, Jeff, because we're seeing this more and more. In my practice, 21 years ago, I started in this industry. It used to be 1 out of 10 people would retire outside of California, right? Because their whole life, their goal was to move to California. When my dad came to this country, in fact, when he left Lebanon, went to Africa, from Africa to Virginia, and then Virginia, New York, and then ultimately his goal, no matter what, was to get to California. That was his goal. He didn't know how he was going to do it. It's a funny story I'll tell you someday about. It involved carpets and a car. Let's just go there. Trying to get to California. And ultimately, of course, he made it here. That was the dream. For people all around the world, that's the dream. Especially if you say Los Angeles. Oh my gosh, you might as well have said heaven or nirvana. However, today, 1 out of 3 people retire. That means with money, right? Because poor people will stay here because it's pretty good benefits. And it's good weather. And you could be homeless in Santa Monica and you're not going to get rained on every other day, right? I mean, right. Truly, it's a place to be homeless. But who leaves? People with money, right? I mean, you can call it whatever you want. You could say, but people with money are the ones that leave. They're the ones that pack up and leave because they can afford to. It's not a secret. Now you think, oh, Arif, that's a political agenda. I just don't know. No, folks. Really simple. It's because Mayflower, U-Haul, and the moving trucks, the big ones, will tell you they have 3 trucks leaving California for everyone coming back. In fact, if you're looking for extra money, I'm going to tell you now, contact them because you can do what's called deadheading, which is where you drive an empty truck. You can contact U-Haul, Mayflower, depending on what skill level you have and your driving record, of course, from the places where these people move to, from Oregon, Washington, Nevada, some in Arizona, Texas, of course, Florida, where there are no income taxes, and these people move. Well, they drive the truck one way, or they have the truck driven the other way, but what's the story, right? They need to come back the other direction, and they're empty because less people are moving here. So they'll pay you extra to drive that truck this way. One of the reasons it may make sense, I have no idea, is because you might decide to move. Why does she decide to move? Why would you decide to move? Why would he decide to move? Simple enough. Because in your life, taxes, lifestyle, value for your money are better in other places outside of the state of California. Politicians know it. They see it. So what happens if you're going to be taxed in another state?
Well, I mean, if you're not looking at a state income tax-free state and you decide to stay in a high tax state like New York, New Jersey, even California, which is where we live, that we know what we're getting, right? We love the sunshine. We love the weather. Some people say, look, I'm willing to pay for that sunshine tax. If you are going to do that, seriously consider the Roth conversion. And simply because we know the federal income tax under current law is negated there, but also the state income tax. So when you're talking about wealthy people leaving, people with money, they operate off of math and logic. They say, I have X amount of dollars that's going to pay me X amount in retirement. Oh, I have to pay X amount in federal income tax. Oh, and another, 10, 12, 13% in California tax, you know what? I'm going to save that because I'll take a pay raise by moving next door, moving a state or two over. Weather's just as good in a lot of places. You know what? That's okay. I'll do without the beach, and I'll keep my extra money.
Here, this is kind of fun. Do you actually realize you can keep a vacation home anywhere in the world? Right? Wealthy people have a vacation home, or maybe not so wealthy, but you have to be Aspen, Colorado, beautiful place to ski. Maybe Florida, right on the coast. Maybe Santa Clarita. You could live in other places and have a vacation home right back here, which means you can still come back and visit your family and friends. I'm not here telling you what the legal rules on how far and how much and you should stay or not stay or travel or not travel. But the point is, you don't have to say, and I'm never coming back to California again. Your state of residence can be another state. I don't know if you have to be there 9.5 months out of the year or 15 minutes out of the year. But you can come back, visit friends and family. We have people that sell homes and buy condos and still have their friends and family, and then the 3 or 4 months a year where it's really hot or horrible, they go.
That's right.
You can do the opposite, where you come here 3 or 4 or 5 months out of the year. So consider that as an option as you're kind of building your strategy. Right? It doesn't mean you have to say forever, I'm not returning.
That's right. Well, strategy is the key word, I think, and this is all part of that planning process is really having an end goal in mind and saying, what do I want to achieve? Look, if you don't care and you're just going to sock away money and you're going to spend it, and if wherever the taxes are, whatever they are, however the chips fall, then that's fine. You probably have more money than I do, because the people that I know and we work with actually care about that, and I've never heard anybody say that they're okay with paying all those extra taxes.
Yeah, just this morning, client says, listen, I have 3 properties. I'm going to be selling them. I want to be I'm going to make a certain amount of dollars. And he goes, why would I ever, this is a man who lives in the San Fernando Valley, very Democrat state. He goes, why would I ever want to give more money to the state when they can't handle what they already have? Instead of saying, hey, listen, we got a problem, we're fixing it, we just need everybody to pitch in. No. It's like the drug addict that says, I know I'm spending more money, but give me more. I know I'm using alcohol too much and I shouldn't, give me more. Right? You wouldn't do that. You would say, first get a handle on things. Let's figure this out. But they don't. They look, they're constantly scanning. What else can we tax? What haven't we increased in taxes lately? What can we tax and nobody will care about? Cigarettes, alcohol. Everybody hates those. Let's demonize bags at grocery stores. Do you not realize how insane that is? I mean, step back for a minute. Talk to anybody outside of your echo chamber circle and ask them. Because when they take this, well, it's for the environment. Oh, that's it. It's over. The argument can't just, if it's for the environment, you should be able to, anything for the environment, for children. Right? It's like when people say, oh, we're raising taxes for children, old people, firemen. Oh, yes. Nurses. Oh, yes. What do we need to do? To stop the discussion. Math doesn't apply anymore. It's not about math. It's just about...
Money is no object.
It's just about our seniors,
yeah,
preschoolers, minorities. Right? Just about them. Math, 1 + 1 is not 2. I love it when people... because part of what you need to do is go through and say, look, math isn't left, right, up, down, conservative, liberal, progressive. Math is just math. If you're bringing in a certain amount of money and you spend less, you'll have a surplus. But when the first few months of the year, we were upside down by hundreds of millions of dollars in the state. That means we spent hundreds more than we brought in just in the first few months. Shouldn't somebody go, whoa, 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 stop the presses? Or somebody should say, hey, listen, we've already collected tax enough to fix the roads in the state 5 times over through gasoline. Everything we tax, DMV. Everything we tax, the ones that are designated for the roads and the highways, we have already done it. It's over. But where'd they spend the money? Where did it go? They passed this thing for a railway that is irrelevant and not going to happen. High-speed rail. Why is it that Dianne Feinstein's husband, before there was even a stake in the road, received $100 million? A Democrat U.S. senator. I don't care who she was, I'd say it. $100 million. with a no-bid contract. That means they didn't put it out. And they should have said, hey, listen, buddy, this isn't going to look good. So, right, husband to wife, wife to husband, I probably shouldn't do this. Let's go do some other things. But why is that okay? Why aren't you guys with pitchforks or screaming with posters and stuff? Because that trickles down to this, which trickles down to you ultimately having to move because the taxes are not going backwards. It's not like a New Jersey, right? New Jersey was the worst state in the union. Finally, they came in as far as taxes go. Finally, they come in and they started making some adjustments, cleaning things up. Okay, it's not bad now. Illinois, basically a bankrupt state, no question. Detroit, a bankrupt state. Do you think businesses and people go, I can't wait to go and I'm going to move in so I could pay the property taxes, so I could help rebuild this city? No, because when you do that, they punish you again and again and again. And you say, you know what? I can go across the river or the other side of town and just not be dealing with this headache.
Oh, I'll tell you what they do. They make really beautiful commercials and they tell you how wonderful of a vacation state it is. And they play them in California.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you not seen where governors from these other states will come to California to try to take businesses? What did we lose so far? Just big businesses. I know we're down about 9,000 businesses in 8 years.
Wow.
8 years, 9,000 businesses have left the state. Oh, Arif, that's just a little coffee shop. Okay, like Nestle, Toyota, Frito-Lay, they left, and on and on. So when these businesses leave, they don't employ people. When the businesses leave, they don't pay taxes because they're not here anymore. When the people that they employ either move and go with them, then they don't pay taxes anymore in this state. And if they don't, they're on unemployment, which means they take tax money from the state. When the movie industry is now in Vancouver, New Orleans, Florida, Las Vegas, Washington State, these people have left. When you look at the Louisiana film industry up in Baton Rouge, take a look. There's a film they're filming right now, or a TV show, and they're filming it up in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, right? And it's one supposed to be based in Santa Barbara. So what do? For the opening and the closing, and they fly a drone of some sort, maybe a helicopter up and down the coast. So you go, oh, that's the Santa Barbara Pier. Oh, that's the State Street. Oh, okay. And then you take a look at it. Okay, that looks like Santa Barbara. Got it. And then what do is they cut and they go into the inside of the police station or somebody's home, and it's up in the studio in Vancouver. So that means the folks, the actors that make any significant money, not the bit players, but the actors, where do you think their residence is? It's a condo or a P.O. box in Vegas or Henderson or Seattle, where there is 0 state income tax. But they have a house down here. When you have interstate commerce, guys, you got to protect it. And you got to tell people in California, knock it off. Be favorable. Don't punish people for wanting to stay here. Make it a better place. Because your retirement accounts are going to be taxed. And if you spend money and you don't take a job, I love this part. Ready for this? It's my favorite. Florida said we're not going to tax retirees. This is years ago. Now they don't tax anybody. They said we're not going to tax retirees. Why? Because you come to the state, you spend money, and you don't take a job. That means it's a win, right? So Arkansas says we're not going to tax certain pensions. Nevada's right behind them. Of course, Texas. So let's pay attention to that. When we come back, a Roth conversion, what is the best way to do it and to keep yourself from paying massive amounts of taxes in the future? Number one, always have a CPA tax preparer on your side. Always meet with them with your financial professional so that 2 or 3 or 4 people are in a room together and they're working together, right? Because you want that. You want that combination approach. You want people to sit down and come up with whatever solution, and everybody presents their side of the solution. Important. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Gerard. This is your place for news, talk, and information. This is KHTS, your hometown station.
Sweet, salty, tastiest, bacon and pancakiest. Big yawns are okay, yummy syrups, yes way. Butter pecan, blueberry, old-fashioned strawberry. Never empty coffee pot, Mom says it hits the spot. Almonds are the fluffiest, Dad's hugs the scruffiest. Scrambled eggy, pepper shaky, orange juicy, wide awake. Stuffed French toastiest, waffles with the mustiest. Buttermilky, smooth, silky, tastes great. Love on a plate.
IHOP, everything you love about breakfast.
Canyon Country now has a one-stop printing shop.
Feathers, photo signs and printing.
Feathers, signs, banners, business cards, embroidery, photo restoration, picture framing, car wraps, all under one roof.
Transfer your old videos, slides, and 8mm movies to DVD.
Print custom t-shirts and jackets with your team or business logo.
Create a banner for your school.
It's all possible at Feathers.
Feathers, you've driven by them daily on Soledad across the street from the Edwards Theaters next to the coffee kiosk.
Discover Feathers, Canyon Country's one-stop printing shop.
Attention all active duty military and veterans. Military Appreciation Day presented by Budweiser and co-sponsored by IBEW NECA is on August 24th at the AV Fair. Admission is free for all active duty military, veterans, and dependents with IDs on August 24th. At 7:30 p.m., servicemen and women will be recognized at the Rally Kia Arena Events Figure 8 race, sponsored by Allstate Cullen Insurance. The Figure 8 race is also free for non-military fair attendees with paid fair admission. Celebrate Military Appreciation Day with a Buy a Buddy a Brew, Pay It Forward promotion. Details at avfair.com. Sway to the Rat Pack Ricky's tribute to Sinatra, Martin, Bennett, or stop by the Corral, sponsored by AV Ford and IBEW and NECA for nightly line dancing and live country music. See you at Military Appreciation Day at the AV Fair, August 24th. Go to avfair.com for all fair information.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrecoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call the Way Out Recovery now, 296-4444, or visit thewayoutrecoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
KHTS.
Thanks for listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, that's Jeff Gerard. All right, your family's financial life, really, it depends on a few things. Depends on your knowledge. It used to be that you would just go to work. You'd pay off your house someday because it only cost you $25,000. You wouldn't need a new car every 15 minutes. And really, you had family that would take care of you. Older parents, grandparents, younger kids, grandchildren. Everybody would take care of each other. It's really what it was all about. As soon as people started giving up that responsibility to, quote, big government, I think you started shifting. I think suddenly there was less of a need. Now, I don't know the chicken or the egg, what took place first, but churches and charities often filled the gap. So when you look at protecting you and your family, you're going to have to come up what the plan is, and you're going to have to come up with a solution to what matters to you, because everybody's different. So let's start this way. Social Security used to be just a small part to keep you from being poor. Right? Look, in the old Depression days, they had soup kitchens where the government or churches, charities would have these lines of men dressed in their coats and their hats. You've seen them with a bowl, and they would get soup, bread, and they would sit in like a homeless area, and they would just be a line of people called a soup kitchen. So you would gauge whether or not we were in a good time or a bad time by that line and see how big the line was, right, at the soup kitchen, how many people were there.
Right.
Today, what is that soup kitchen? It's called welfare. It's called aid for dependent, AFD, aid for dependent children. They may call it something different today. It's called SNAP. It's called food stamps. It's the same thing. They just took it from public, so the government's now giving them money. So the grocery stores have become the food kitchens. The liquor stores have become the food kitchens. These convenience stores have become the place where you would get government money for doing nothing, right? Just existing, being. Look, I'm not talking about the one who's struggling. I'm talking about the guy who sits in the corner and goes, and to get my check. Like there isn't 1 or 2 or 10 or 1,000 of them. And they would get it, and they would go to the next store, and they would sometimes, listen, I have $100. I'll give it to you for $70. So I can get $70 in cash for $100 of real food. You could do it with it as you want. The $70 in cash, now I can buy alcohol. I can buy drugs. Every single day, probably every single hour, if not every single minute, it happens somewhere, and probably just here in Los Angeles. Oh, listen, I've seen it done over. It's not a story. So everybody knows, right? The convenience stores know. And these guys, some of them are less than ethical, and they'll take the $100 and they'll give you $70 in cash, and they'll use it to buy food for their own families. It's not a secret. It's really, really easy to do if you look at from a scam standpoint. So you have to think Social Security didn't used to be that way. It used to be just part of your retirement. Today, I don't know, what is it, 50, 60% of Americans would probably be in those food stamp lines or those SNAP or aid for dependent seniors, whatever the new formula is going to be. And Social Security has become a significant part of their planning and their budget. And because of that, how do you build and protect it so that you don't get kicked out of it because you, quote, make too much money because somebody in Washington who's a millionaire changes their mind and puts you out on the street?
Well, one of the things you can do, and it goes back to our subject matter here, is looking at post-tax programs where you put the control and the choice in your hands with your dollars. Remember, you park money pre-tax, the government, that's on their radar, right? The companies tell them every year, they publish the numbers, hey, Joe Blow has this amount and Susie Q has this much in her account. And so they're waiting for you to reach that age and that critical mass. They go, hey, now they've got to take money out. Well, do you think that with all of the reform that is necessary, and maybe they never act on it, but when a time comes that it has to be reformed, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, they're going to look at someone with, I don't know, if the president said $3 million is too much, would the next person say the same thing and say, this person has way too much money in their account, they don't qualify for Social Security? Well, that's called means testing. If you're pulling out a certain amount and you say, look, I don't even spend all that, but they're making me take it out, that could be a trigger for you not qualifying for some of these programs or paying higher premiums, whether it's the Medicare or whatever else they want to tax you on, right? So these are some of the things where we say, look at putting the control back in your hands, whether it's moving money over to the Roth side. Now, look, it doesn't mean that if the money's in the Roth that it'll exempt you from all of these changes coming down the pipe or these surcharges or whatever they want to call it. A tax, a fee, it doesn't matter what they call it. However they get there, you part with the money and it goes into their hands. But you want to have the best chance for yourself, and setting yourself up with post-tax dollars, I think, is the way to do it.
Yeah, that means testing where they say, oh, you're making too much. You have too much in property. You have too much in assets, too much in your retirement account. You're able to take money out. You should take out more. There could be all sorts of formulas. The first line of defense, because Social Security is not a part of that, but Medicare currently is. Medicare goes up the more income you make. The more income you make, the higher you pay in Medicare fees, in insurance premiums. The more money you make, meaning you're forced to take it out of your retirement account, could trigger your Medicare to be at a much higher amount. So manage that. You might get hit the first year, right, if you're going to take out big chunks of money, but you've now been able to reduce those costs moving forward, and that can be an enormous savings of time. Thanks for joining us. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Gerard, and your place for News Talk information. Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on Hometown Station, KHTS.
KHTS.